The Indiana Fever are planning to ship Caitlin Clark to the Los Angeles Sparks. I expect UCLA coach Corey Close to be the head coach of the Los Angeles Sparks. Corey Close, after that championship game that she won with the UCLA Bruins, she's been very adamant. She's been very upfront. Yeah, all this transfer portal stuff, I'm not really sure.
She is the biggest name in women's basketball, the most watched player in WNBA history, a cultural phenomenon who single-handedly dragged an entire league into prime time. And right now, right at this very moment, there are serious people with serious connections whispering that Indiana is ready to let her go. That is not a clickbait headline. That is not a rumor cooked up by someone with a laptop and too much free time. That is a story with layers, with locked locker room tensions, viral bench moment that made the entire sports world stop scrolling, a bombshell post from an NBA insider, and a quiet meeting in Los Angeles that nobody was supposed to know about. So before you scroll past this, understand something. We are not just talking about one player switching cities. We are talking about the future of an entire league. The question of who controls the biggest star in women's basketball and where she ends up might be the most consequential storyline the WNBA has ever produced. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now because this channel covers stories exactly like this, the ones buried underneath the official talking points, the carefully worded press statements, and the diplomatic non-answers. Now, let's get into it. It started with a video, a short, unedited, completely ordinary piece of sideline footage that somehow told an entire story in under 30 seconds. Caitlin Clark, Indiana Fever star, the player who made WNBA tickets impossible to find, the person the league built a marketing campaign around, was seated on the bench. Her body language was unmistakable, eyes forward, jaw tight, that particular kind of stillness that only happens when someone is working very hard not to react. Head coach Tiffany White walked over, said something, and then directed Raven Johnson to take Clark's seat. Clark responded with a slow, deliberate head shake. That was it. That was the moment. 13 seconds. Maybe no raised voices. No dramatic confrontation. Just a head shake. But that head shake got watched millions of times. The clip traveled fast, faster than almost anything this team has to do on the court this season, because everyone watching it was reading the same thing into something is wrong. Not wrong in a way that competitive sports teams occasionally clash. Wrong in a way that suggests a deeper fracture, one that a post-game hug cannot fully repair. The Fever's damage control was swift and organized. Stephanie White told media there was nothing to see. Clark herself stepped to the podium and said it was two competitive people who both want to win. The party line was clear, consistent, and delivered with practice calm. But here's the thing about public denials in the age of social media. By the time the denial lands, the question is already 3 news cycles ahead of it. And the question everyone was now asking was not whether Clark and White had argued. The question was how deep the tension actually runs, and whether it already spread 2 individuals into the entire organizational culture of the Indiana Fever. The carefully constructed, nothing to see here narrative started cracking almost immediately, and the crack came from inside the building. Sophie Cunningham, one of the more candid personalities on a roster, appeared on a podcast and casually dropped a detail that most people glossed over but absolutely should not have.
Steph and Cece are 2 very competitive people who just want to win, and sometimes you bump heads, but it was all out of like good intent of wanting the same thing. And like at the end of the day, like we were not playing good. I'm not condoning her actions. Like I think there's room to grow in how you respond to things, but she would say the same thing, and her and Steph are fine. And that's like their relationship. And you know, later that night or the next morning, they hugged it out and they talked about it. Like when you are in high competitive situations, pretty much 4 days out of the week, like stuff is going to happen. But like I said, our stuff is just under a microscope, and everything you do, everything you say is going to be a highlight reel for somebody. And I think media loves to create division where there's not.
She confirmed that the team had held what she described as a lengthy meeting in the wake of back-to-back losses. She framed it diplomatically. She said Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark are two intensely competitive people who occasionally bump heads, because they both want the same thing. She mentioned that they had worked it out, that there had been a hug, that things were fine. But read that again carefully. She did not say the relationship is strong. She did not say the locker room is unified. She said they are fine. She said there is room to grow in how situations get handled. She said things are under a microscope, and that not every conflict is what the media makes it out to be. All of that is probably true, but she also confirmed the long meeting. She confirmed the friction. She confirmed unintentionally that the official story and the actual story are not exactly the same document.
That's nothing new, but I just think everyone expects us to like leave off of where we were last year. And yes, we have like some of the same players as last year, but we also have so many new players that are playing huge minutes for us. And I think it just takes a second to, get rhythm and chemistry and trust each other. Like, I think this is very normal team things, but we have to like do it sooner than later. Like it's everyone's a little frustrated with how we're playing because we all know we're better than it. But I think sometimes you need this type of stuff in order to get to like the root of the problem of whatnot. And
teams that are thriving do not hold marathon emergency sessions after 2 losses. Teams that are genuinely unified do not need to publicly broadcast that they are genuinely unified. The very act of defending the relationship so methodically suggests the relationship needed defending, and then the rumor machine kicked into a completely different gear. June 3rd, circle that date. Michael Thompson, not some anonymous account, not a former player turned podcaster with a grudge, but Michael Thompson, the longtime color commentator for Los Angeles Lakers radio broadcasts and the father of 4-time NBA champion Klay Thompson, posted something on the platform formerly known as Twitter that caused an immediate, total, full-stop freeze across every corner of basketball social media. He wrote that, according to a reliable source, the Indiana Fever do not want Caitlin Clark anymore. He named the Los Angeles Sparks as the team that should go get her, and then within an hour he doubled down, posted again, confirmed he was hearing the same thing, stood by it publicly with his name attached, on a platform where millions of basketball fans were watching in real time. The reaction was instantaneous and massive, because this is not the type of thing Michael Thompson does for engagement. He is not building a brand off controversy. He has a stable media career, deep roots in the Los Angeles basketball community, and absolutely zero incentive to fabricate a story that could embarrass him professionally if it turned out to be nothing.
Michael Thompson comes out and says, I'm hearing from a reliable source, the Fever don't want Caitlin no more. Sparks, go get her now. And unless he comes out and says he's trolling, I'm taking this as face value. I'm taking this as serious. I'm not taking this as clickbait at all. I do believe he has reliable sources. I do believe he has sources within the WNBA. I do believe he has sources within the Los Angeles Sparks. And I do believe it's been floated by him the same way that things have been floated by Dan Dockage. I believe it's been floated by Michael Thompson. They're not too...
When someone with his credibility and his connection says he is hearing something from a reliable source, the sports world does not collectively shrug. It pays attention. The Indiana Fever organization, through back-channel sources, pushed back, insisted there was no truth to the trade speculation, maintained that Clark is untouchable. But the silence from the league office was deafening, and the Fever's denial, carefully worded and strategically vague, did nothing to stop the conversation. If anything, it accelerated it. Now here is where the stories shift from drama into something far more strategic and far more unsettling if you are an Indiana fan. On May 13th, the Fever traveled to Los Angeles to face the Sparks. Caitlin Clark was in an unusually good headspace before that game. She talked to reporters with a lightness that had been missing 4 stretches of the season. She smiled, she was relaxed. The Fever won 87-78. And Clark put up 24 points and 9 assists, one of her sharpest performances in weeks. What the box score did not capture was what allegedly happened off the court. multiple sources speaking without authorization have suggested that Clark held a private conversation with individuals connected to the Sparks organization during that Los Angeles trip. This was not a formal meeting, not a league-sanctioned sit-down, just the kind of quiet, informal dialogue that happens when a player, consciously or not, starts exploring what life might look like somewhere else. That detail alone would have been enough to fuel another week of speculation. But then Michael Thompson posted his claim from Los Angeles, and suddenly every piece of the puzzle started arranging itself into a picture that was hard to ignore. Kate Martin, Clark's closest friend and former college teammate from Iowa, had just signed with the Sparks. Cameron Brink, a young, versatile center who can stretch the floor and protect the rim, is already on the roster. The pieces around Clark, the comfort pieces, the familiar faces were suddenly not in Indiana. They were in Southern California. Whether that is coincidence or strategy, the basketball world cannot stop arguing about it. Here is a conversation that no one in mainstream sports media will have directly, but that everyone inside the sport fully understands. The WNBA has a market problem. Indianapolis is a real sports city. The Fever have a real fan base. The crowds this season, largely driven by Clark's presence, have been historic. But Indianapolis is not Los Angeles, it is not New York, and in a league that is desperately trying to grow its national footprint, its television deals, its international reach, and its overall cultural footprint, there is a structural tension in having your most marketable player in a mid-size Midwestern market. Los Angeles, by contrast, is everything. It is the second largest city in the country, it is a global brand, it is the entertainment capital of the world, where athletes become icons and icons become something larger than sport. The Sparks specifically just became significantly more interesting as an organization. The ownership group that acquired the Los Angeles Lakers, the same group connected to the Los Angeles Dodgers, now has financial ties to the Sparks through their presence in the broader LA sports ecosystem. That means crypto, arena. That means Dodgers money. That means one of the most powerful sports infrastructure networks in the world, potentially aligned with a WNBA franchise. Put Caitlin Clark in that environment and you are not building a basketball team. You are building a global media property. Commissioner Adam Silver has been one of the most vocal advocates for WNBA player salaries and league expansion in the sport's history. WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelberg has been aggressive about finding new markets, new deals, and new visibility for the league. Neither of them would need to force a trade, orchestrate a backroom deal, or break any rules. All they would need to do is allow the conditions to exist where the market corrects itself, where the financial gravity of the largest possible platform eventually pulls the most marketable player toward it. Leagues have always worked this way. You do not always need a mandate. Sometimes you just need momentum. Strip away the drama for a moment and just look at what the Indiana Fever season has actually looked like. The team entered this year with significant expectations. They have returning players, new additions, and the theoretical foundation of a genuine contender. But consecutive losses, an emergency team meeting, a viral tension moment between their franchise player and their head coach, and now a cascade of trade rumors have produced something the Fever's front office did not script, a genuine credibility problem. Caitlin Clark herself addressed the slow start publicly, noting that it takes time to build chemistry with new players, that the trust and rhythm of a team do not simply carry over from one season to the next, and that everyone inside the building knows they are capable of more than what they have shown. That is a measured, mature response. It is also a response that could be read in multiple directions. Because the subtext is clear, they are not playing to their ceiling. The environment is not what it should be. And for a player of Clark's caliber, a player who entered this league with the kind of cultural momentum that had never been seen at this level of the sport, playing below your ceiling in an environment that feels unstable is not a long-term arrangement you simply absorb. The Fever's front office publicly insists everything is fine, publicly insists Clark is not available, publicly insists the noise is just noise. But in professional sports, the teams that have to publicly insist everything is fine are almost never the ones where everything actually is. Let's be precise here. No formal trade offer has been made. No deal has been agreed to. No credible beat reporter has confirmed to multiple verified sources that Caitlin Clark is actively being shopped. What has happened is this: a person with real connections and a real platform said something specific in public, then stood by it. A player allegedly had an informal conversation in a city that makes a great deal of business sense for her career. A teammate confirmed internal friction, without meaning to. A coaching situation that appeared stable has developed visible complications. And an ownership structure in Los Angeles has quietly positioned itself as one of the most attractive landing spots in the entire league. That is not nothing. That is the anatomy of how these situations develop, quietly, then suddenly, in a way that catches a casual observer completely off guard. The real question is not whether a trade happens tomorrow or next week. The real question is whether the conditions for a trade have already been created, whether the tension in Indiana, the opportunity in Los Angeles, and the league's own market interest have converged into something that makes a move not just possible, but at some point, almost inevitable. The people who know are not talking. The people who are talking might not know everything. And somewhere in between those two realities, the future of the biggest name in women's basketball is being quietly, carefully decided. There are a few ways the story ends. In the first version, the Indiana Fever fix whatever is broken inside that locker room.